Welcome back to Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. Our world lead now. Relations between Russia and the United States seem to be deteriorating just as Secretary of State Rex Tillerson arrives for talks in Moscow. Tillerson is warning Russia to drop its support of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, while Putin is comparing President Trump's military action last week to the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Not just regarding the military action itself, but in what Putin is claiming is a false pretense. CNN senior diplomatic correspondent Michelle Kaczynski is live for us in Moscow. And Michelle, Putin and Tillerson were once on quite friendly terms back when Tillerson was CEO of ExxonMobil, but now Tillerson's in Moscow, and it's possible that Putin might not even meet with them.
Yeah, hi, Jake. Right. It was 4 years ago. Rex Tillerson was in Moscow being awarded the Order of Friendship by President Vladimir Putin. Today, he arrived as U.S. Secretary of State, friendship being about the last word you'd use to describe these two governments right now. And at this point, Putin won't even schedule a meeting with him, while Tillerson prepares to confront Russia over its role in Syria. Tonight, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson in Moscow, about to attempt one of his toughest conversations. Here to tell the foreign minister, if not Vladimir Putin himself, who so far has not scheduled a meeting with him, that Russia needs to, quote, rethink its backing of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, and that the U.S. will hold Russia accountable for the continuing carnage there.
It's clear to all of us that the reign of the Assad family is coming to an end. We are not presupposing how that occurs, but I think it is clear that we see no further role for the Assad regime longer term.
What he's up against, a Russia that has called U.S. strikes on Syria an inadmissible act of aggression, intensifying the tension between the two countries. Russian President Putin today suggesting that the Assad regime and Russia are being framed for the chemical attack, saying more will follow.
We have information from various sources that this kind of provocation, I can't call it anything other than a provocation, is being prepared for in other regions of Syria too, including the southern suburbs of Damascus, where they are preparing to drop similar chemicals and then accuse the Syrian government of it.
Comparing it to the Iraq War in 2003, with claims of weapons of mass destruction since proven false.
The Iraq campaign was launched, and it finished with the destruction of the country, the growth of the terrorist threat, and nothing less than the emergence of ISIS on the international stage.
He says Russia will appeal to the international community for a full investigation of last week's chemical attack. But when Secretary Tillerson, before landing in Moscow, met with G7 nations in Italy, discussed the possibility of sanctioning Russia, for at the very least allowing there to still be chemical weapons in Syria, they were not on board.
We must have a dialogue with Russia. We must not push Russia into a corner.
As far as the rhetoric has now gone between Russia and the U.S.,
Putin's a war criminal. Assad's a war criminal. When Secretary Tillerson says he hopes that Russia will realign itself with Western democracies and break away from Syria and Iran, with all due respect, I like Secretary Tillerson. That's pretty naive.
The responsibility falls now on Tillerson, the first to sit down face-to-face with his Russian counterpart and try to gain some cooperation with the government he once considered a friend. You know, over the last couple of days, we've heard strong statements from a number of U.S. officials. We heard from Nikki Haley. But as Tillerson is getting ready for this crucial meeting with the Russian foreign minister tomorrow, it seems he doesn't really want to project such a hard line. He said things today like he hopes Assad isn't part of the political process for a long time. He hopes that Russia will change course because what it's doing right now is not in Russia's best interests. Jake?
All right, Michelle Kaczynski in Moscow for us. Thank you so much.